VV Nations in the chat. Let's get those going. Good morning. Welcome. Hopefully everybody's having a good Tuesday morning so far. Once again, welcome to the VectorVest Jockey Club. My name is Patrick France. I'm a senior instructor here at VectorVest, and I will be your host for today's session. Just as a reminder, we do have some bonuses here for everybody today, since we are both live here in the Jockey Club, also over on our YouTube page where we are doing trading for charity as well as the Jockey Club. So for all of our VV Nation members, we have an extended session here today where we'll be going longer than we typically do for the Jockey Club. But for anybody new just tuning in for the very first time, once again, this is our live trading room. We do Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until about 10:30, where we cover aggressive and speculative trading. So that's going to cover day trading, swing trading, and everything in between. So if that's what you guys are looking for, you guys are definitely in the right spot here today. Also, for anybody that's tuning in through GoToWebinar and our Jockey Club right now, as a reminder, if you want to participate in any of the giveaways that we do or anything that we have going on, you can head on over to the VectorVest YouTube page and tune in there as well. Also, with our trading for charity, this is our last week we have. So today is our extended version. Then Friday will be our last session of the trading for charity event for this year. So not very much time left on that. All right, now with that, let's go ahead and jump right into the agenda and see what we have planned for today. So on the agenda, as always, at 9 a.m., we do the welcome and introduction. Hopefully everybody's feeling welcome. Hopefully everybody has a sense of what we're going to be looking to accomplish here today. At 9:05 is where we'll start to recap the prior day's activity. So this is where we'll look at end of day action, look at the closing data for yesterday, look at the longer term charts, look for any major trends that we need to be aware of, make sure that we're keeping up to date with those and keeping everybody on the right side of things, and really get a sense of what to expect going forward. At 9:10 is where we'll start to establish a directional bias here for the day. So this is where we'll look for futures data, economic news that could have an impact on today's trading, anything going on pre-market that can help us really establish, what way we are expecting the markets to open. So that way we can be prepared, or we can start preparing ourselves for that open there. And I see Jay coming in with a $30 donation for Levine Children's Hospital. Appreciate that, Jay. As always, if you're in our YouTube chat, make sure whenever anybody donates, put some hearts in the chat. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that. Show Jay some love, VV Nation. All right. After that, at 9:15 is where we'll start to identify some movers and shakers. So this is where we'll look for stocks that are popping or dropping, moving along with the market. So that way we can establish a shopping list, get it ready, so when the market opens, we have some potential candidates to trade right out of the gate here. But if some of those trades really aren't moving too much right out of the gate, we'll simply be patient, jump into the top dairy performers and look for, the stocks that may not have been trading too actively pre-market. So that way, the Derby will help us identify which stocks are really starting to move once the market actually opens. So therefore, if there are some candidates that really weren't too active in the morning or pre-market that are really starting to trade once the market actually opens, the Derby will help us quickly identify those so we don't miss out on some great opportunities there. But as always, if the markets are, sideways, if we're seeing a lot of back and forth, a lot of indecision going on in the markets, then we'll simply be patient, wait about 30 minutes after the market opens, let the market really settle down, establish a clear directional bias, and then we'll start to place our trades from there. So with that, let's go ahead, jump right into the VectorVest 7 software and get started here this morning. So there we go. Lunch fun. I know that could be a close second there, Jay. Morning, Ray. Hopefully you're doing well. Hey, Mark. Glad to see you here this morning. All right, so taking a look at the close of yesterday, as we can see, all the major indices did finish off in the red, with the VectorVest composite down 1.4%, Dow down just shy of 1.5%, S&P a little over 1.5%, NASDAQ almost 1.6% lower, and then the Russell down 2% by the end of the session yesterday. That market action pushed our needle 2 ticks into the red. Therefore, the color guard is somewhat bearish, and VectorVest does not advocate buying any stocks at this time. As we can see, those two red lights came from the RT, or the relative timing, which shows the short-term price trend of the market, and the buy to sell ratio, which looks at the overall health of the market. And since both of those drop below that level of 1 and are moving lower day over day and week over week, that gave us those red lights here. Now, looking at the price action, we can see price stayed yellow because even though we moved lower day over day, we are still slightly higher week over week. Therefore, our primary wave, or our more short-term to weekly trend in the market, still remains in that up situation. And then the underlying trend in the market remains up because the MTI is above that level of 1. Also, looking at our calls column, which stands for our confirmed calls, they're by far our most conservative timing system here at VectorVest. As we can see, we still remain in that confirmed up situation. Nick says, who says that half cent doesn't matter? Hey, every fractional cent matters there, Nick. All right. So with that, let's go ahead, jump right into the market timing graph. So we'll click on the graphs tab at the top, click on the word stock in the upper left, and select market timing. And looking at yesterday's intraday activity, as we can see, it was a pretty consistent day throughout most of the day yesterday, where we saw slowly dwindling or slowly declining price action, hitting lower highs, lower lows all throughout the session. And then looking at our DTI here at the bottom. Now, for anybody tuning in for the very first time or new to the Jockey Club, the DTI is our Derby timing indicator. It's our intraday timing system here at VectorVest, and it's cast on a scale of 0 to 2. And as you can see, the red stands for the bears, green stands for the bulls, and whenever either one of these indicators crosses above the level of 1, that tells us we're starting to see a bias in a certain direction. And when either indicator breaks above 1.2, that shows us we see a strong bias in that direction. I'm going to change that 1.2 to green, because another way of looking at it is whenever we go above 1, that tells us start getting our trade or start preparing to get into a trade. And when it goes above 1.2, that gives us the green light to pull the trigger on the trade or place that trade and take advantage of it in the overall market direction here. So looking at it, we can see a lot of indecision throughout the first hour of the market yesterday, but then the bears finally started taking the lead right before that 10:30 time frame. And then right after that, about 10:45 or so, the bears crossed above 1.2 and stayed above that level throughout the remainder of the session, finishing off at a reading of 1.93, giving us an extremely strong bearish bias here. Looking at the bulls, they finished off at 0.23, therefore a very weak reading throughout the day yesterday from the bulls side. Steve Chappell noticed that RT has been mostly below 1 since early 2020. Can you please comment? Yeah, Enrique, I've commented on this before. I'm not going to really get into it too much today, but I believe it was during our afternoon market action, not last week, but the week before. I did a whole commentary on that, talked about it and what it could potentially imply in these current market conditions. So I definitely recommend to go check that out. All right, so with that, let's go ahead, scoot out a little bit and take a look at a 6-month look back here. Going to go ahead, change it to the MTI layout so that way we can get our key indicators, our market timing indicators here. And looking at the price action, as we can see, we did have this nice support floor being held at the beginning of October, right around $50 even on the VectorVest composite. We see it hit once and twice, tried to break through to the downside, failed to do so. Got this nice rally coming up into today's price action, but now seem to be reaching a level of resistance right here at 56.40. So we hit it once, now twice, potentially a double top. If we look at yesterday's action, we pulled back away from that level of resistance, therefore not really showing some strength behind this move and could potentially be setting us up for a reversal, something we're going to definitely have to keep an eye on here. Now, if we can break above 56.41, then that could show some more upside potential ahead. But if we fail to break above it, then we're coming back down, have some potential support around 54.44, and then realistically more support around 53.10 or so that we'll be keeping an eye on here. All right, so that's going to do it for recapping what's going on here. Let's go ahead and start preparing for this morning. So to start us off, as always, I'll pull up investing.com, get rid of some ads. And as always, taking a look at the headers here, as we always seem to pay attention to, looking at the heading or the headlines on investing.com, we have Apple, UPS, Bilibili, rising pre-market, and Hibbett and Chemours falling. And whenever we see more stocks rising than falling, that tends to give us a good idea that, we have an upward move in the markets here. Sorry, I had to readjust my my zoom on that one to make it easier for us to see. All right, but let's go ahead, take a look at the futures data. And starting off with the U.S. futures, as we can see, the U.S. or the Dow 30 is down slightly, down 0.06%. S&P 500 slightly in the green, up a little over 0.1%. NASDAQ up about 0.25%. Russell basically flat. Then the VIX, the volatility index, down about 0.75% so far for the session here. So while, yes, U.S. futures are mostly green, they're very weak to say the least here. But then as we move across the pond, taking a look at the European markets, we can see Germany is down about 0.1%. France is up about 0.25%. The UK is up about 0.5%. Euro Stoxx 50 up about 0.1%. And then as we scoot down into the Asia Pacific markets, we can see the Nikkei is down about 0.5%. The Hang Seng up nicely, up almost 4% for this session so far. CSI 300, so Chinese Dow, is up 3.25%. Then China's A50 up about 0.33% so far. And then last but not least, taking a look at the ASX, the Australian market, typically known as a heavily commodities-based market, up slightly, up just shy of 0.2% for the session. So while we see mostly green throughout the global markets, there are a few weaker spots, giving us a little bit of hesitation going forward with today's action. So we'll have to be on our toes and pay closer attention to what's going on in the overall market here. And now, speaking of commodities, let's go ahead. Take a look at the commodities futures in the upper right. And we can see the crude oil West Texas Intermediate up 1.6%, Brent up 1.9%, natural gas up about 0.5%, gold also up about 0.6%, silver up 1.25%, copper up 0.75%, soybeans up about 0.25% so far. So seeing a lot of green throughout commodities here today. All right, now last but not least, let's go back up to the top, go to the news section, take a look at the economic calendar to see what we have in store for today. And then I'll just go ahead and change our filters here. There we go. All right, so pretty light so far this morning, but the one thing that we really want to be keeping an eye on is the Consumer Confidence Index reading that comes out at 10 a.m. this morning. So 10 a.m., if I don't remember, I need you guys to remind me that, hey, pay attention at that 10:45 time frame, so that way, or 10 o'clock time frame, so that way we don't miss out and see how the market reacts to this news. And if that gives us a boost, or if that starts a continuation decline that we saw yesterday. But besides that, that's pretty much it for news front today. Tomorrow's going to be a lot busier in terms of news. But for today, realistically, consumer confidence reading comes out at 10 a.m. and that's going to be the main time frame that we need to be cautious with in the markets here. All right, so now let's get out of here. Go back. Actually, let's go ahead, put that on an intraday basis. Turn on the DTI layout once again. Go ahead and click on Tools in the upper right and turn on Extended Hours. And taking a look at pre-market activity here. As we can see, U.S. futures are climbing back a little bit, gaining some of the ground they lost yesterday. And the DTI bullish indicator currently sitting at 1.27. The bears currently sitting at 0.76. Now, as always, whenever we're looking at pre-market data, you do want to take it with a grain of salt because pre-market activity can be skewed since not all stocks trade pre-market. Actually, a very small portion of stocks trade pre-market. But whenever we're looking for bias pre-market, we typically want to see the DTI either one at a reading of 1.5 or higher to show a strong bias in a certain direction. So currently at 1.26 for the bulls, we do see a weak bullish bias so far pre-market, which kind of goes in hand with what we were seeing on the futures data. So this tells us we need to make sure we're prepared for either direction just in case. As always, rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So let's go ahead, get out of here, and start to get some shopping list candidates ready for ourselves this morning. So taking it out of there, going to find my personal favorite search. Daily boomers for the upside, first and foremost. And we get a few stocks showing up here today. Let's go ahead and graph these. Let me get my graph layout changed here as well. All right, so looking at APEN, gapped up, pretty much just been moving sideways all morning long. Not a whole lot. Volume has been okay, but not the greatest for what we're looking for here. ONCS, you saw this nice sideways move, channeling after the gap up pre-market. Now potentially starting to break out. Volume could be a little bit better, but still seeing some decent volume coming in. So this could definitely make the list here. We have our resistance at 315. As you can see, it's continuing to run as we speak, starting to break out of that sideways move here. ATOM, no real trading volume. ASPI, just moving sideways, not really going anywhere quite yet. CTRN, not a whole lot of trading volume earlier this morning, but ever since about 9 a.m., starting to see a ramp up in trading activity, starting to move higher. So this could be a viable option. Yen, so the 3 times China Bull ETF, really just sideways currently. BILI, good earnings. We saw it as one of the headline articles over on investing.com. You did have more of a sideways price action up until about 8:45. Got a little bit of a pop, moved sideways, a little bit of a pop, now coming back down inside that sideways action here. CWEB, not a whole lot of trading volume, no trading volume, no trading volume. So out of these so far this morning, BILI, CTRN, and then ONCS. Let's go ahead, get those added in. There we go. And we'll go ahead, zoom in a little bit here for those. Go back, take a look at our daily boomers for the downside. No stocks showing up, so therefore, don't have anything to prepare that list for. All right, one thing I want to do before we jump into it here today, before the market opens, just to highlight it here, this is our trading for charity portfolio that I'll be trading in currently. Right now, we're sitting up 4.5% so far since about a month ago or so now at this point. So 1 month up 4.5%. Right now, the only holdings we currently have are ACGL, which is up just shy of 2%, and then SMCI up 4.75%. So just shy of that 5% mark. Looking at some of our other portfolios, we have the cherry picking portfolio for the Jockey Club up 13.37%. Short portfolio in cash currently, obviously. but up 4%. And then those are our portfolios that we're going to be keeping an eye on here. All right, so let me get things set back up. There we go. I think I got it all. Cool. Awesome. All right. So ONCS realistically saw the blast off, coming back down to retest that support at 315. This 315 level is definitely going to be an interesting period or interesting level that we'll need to pay close attention to throughout the day today. All right, so with that, let's go ahead, jump into the Derby, change it from market open to prior close, so that way we're going off of yesterday's closing activity here. And right now we have our broadest filters with the Derby with the all in all. So therefore we're looking for price at minimum greater than $1 or dollar greater. And then occasionally there's a couple of one-offs where you are going to see stocks less than $1. But then average volume has it set to all. But the default is 100,000. So 100,000 and at minimum $1 typically. Hey JD, hopefully you're doing well. All right, so we can see Bleyer's bottom feeders coming up as the #1 stock with ONCS in that list. We've already got that. So let's see what else we have. RMED. And then we'll go down to the 4%ers here. So we'll go ahead and graph these. So RMED just moving sideways, not a whole lot of trading volume pre-market. It is up nicely compared to the prior day's close, but not a whole lot of continuation or a whole lot of interest so far before the market opens here. INM, pretty much same situation. Not a whole lot of trading volume going on currently. It has had a couple of minutes where you've seen some interest in it, but overall, pretty flat throughout the session so far pre-market. And then HUDI. HUDI could be an interesting one. You saw a nice run earlier on here, but then you did see some weakness showing itself indicated by the taller upper wick. Also confirmation from the strong volume here showing the selling. Then you saw the stock pull back. Now trying to base once again, trying to get comfortable in this price range before we see it hopefully take back off. But we'll add this one to our list to keep an eye on once the market opens here today. And then BHVN, no real trading volume as of yet. Pretty inactive so far this morning. So gonna have to pass on this one for the time being. So HUDI out of that list. We'll add that one to our shopping list here. All right, CTRN now starting to pull back a little bit, coming into the closer to the open here. Zooming out a little bit, give us a better look back period. Looking at the markets, still slowly continuing to climb. DTI bullish indicators still at a relatively weak reading for pre-market activity. Also, you can see each move. You had a big move here, pulled back. Slower move here, starting to flatten out. So we're not seeing a whole lot of strength so far behind the upside in the market here today. All right, let's go back, see what else we have, see if there's anything else that could be of interest to us. So RGS. This is below that $2 minimum that I personally like to trade, but there's definitely some stocks that are in that $1 to $2 range that are seeing some bigger moves here. So real quick, just in case for anybody who's interested in trading the lower dollar stocks, RGS, big gap up here on 1 minute of volume. After that, no real trading volume coming in. Express, once again, periodic volume, but no real consistency as of yet. And then AGRI, no real consistency. It is moving higher, but not a whole lot of real activity behind that here. All right, let's make sure we're all caught up. Anything else? ONCS, we've already got that in our list. So let's go ahead, bump that up to $2 minimum and 250,000 on the volume. ONCS is really being the one pulling a lot of these portfolios higher for the time being. For Chinese stocks, you have HT, which is up almost 6% so far. A Chinese ETF up 4.75%, EDU up 4%. But looking at the overall portfolio performance since the pre-market opened at 8 a.m., it's been steadily drifting lower. So that gives us a little bit of insight into all the news going on about Chinese markets getting a little bit of a boost here today, and if you're in the U.S. and you're trying to take advantage of that trend, well, the Derby right now is telling us that we may be a little late to the party. The opportunity may have passed us by, and we're starting to see them cooling off a little bit. So if you weren't there for trading during those market hours, you may be a little late to the party here. Chuck's asking why $2 minimum. So the $2 minimum is just a personal preference there, Chuck. More so, just because under $2, when you're getting into, $1 to $1.50, $1.75, anywhere in that range, a very small move can equate to a very large gain or loss. And also stocks that are below that $2 range, you could put a lot of volume behind that. And so therefore, it's more, it can be caught up in that, or it can be more influenced by smaller orders coming in. So to get a little bit more consistency, avoid having, crazy swings coming in just because of one trader out there. I tend to stick with $2 and above. I have a $10 minimum, not trading the stocks in knowledge. I need volume liquidity. Yeah. So that's why I tend to stick with $2 as my bare minimum. Just to make sure that it has a little bit more consistency and less likelihood of being affected by one potential trader coming in. Let's see. Also, JD, to piggyback off of that. Now, if you noticed, under my Unisearch tool for the daily boomers for the downside, I do have the stock price greater than 10, and that is due specifically to shorting and what can be available, because when you're shorting a stock, it all goes off of what your broker has available that you can borrow from. And the general consensus is above $10, less or a higher likelihood that your broker will have those shares available for you to be able to borrow off of. So that gives some extra insight to that as well. Let's see. Hey, Maria, hopefully you're doing well. Glad to have you here today. All right, so I think I got caught up on those. All right, market's about to open in about 1 minute. So let's go ahead, change this back to market open. So that way it's going off of the open here this morning. That way it can tell us what's really starting to move once the market actually opens, rather than going off of yesterday's closing activity, looking at pre-market, because once the market starts trading, pre-market doesn't really matter at that point. It does to help getting prepared, but then once 9:30 bell rings, we got to focus on that. All right, looking at it, market's still just moving sideways. DTI bullish indicator pulling back as the price action was moving slightly higher, so we got to be careful with that one. Looking at the home page, VectorVest composite pre-market up 0.21%. Right now, we're sitting at about twice as many buys than sells currently. So that's a positive that we're seeing here. Let's go ahead, get through our candidate list. CTRN. ONCS had a huge pop here over the last minute. ONCS could be a viable trading opportunity right out of the gate here this morning. But we'll need to keep an eye on it and be patient with it. Putting some support at 343. The bell has rang. Good luck, everybody. Let's make some money here today. Right out of the gate, the market comes tumbling back down. DTI bullish indicator really hasn't moved. There we go. Now we're seeing it drop below that level of 1.2 and that level of 1. Looking at the homepage, VectorVest Composite up only about 0.1% now. Dow down about 0.2%. S&P 500 essentially flat. NASDAQ essentially flat. Russell up about 0.25%. Then seeing that advance to declines, dropped right out of the gate below that level of 2, now sitting at 1.45. So about 1.5 buys to every sell, or 1.5 stocks moving higher to every stock moving lower currently. Currently though, buy to sell ratio did pop above that level of 1. So we have one green light here in the color guard. MTI still pulling back day over day, still remaining that up. And then right now, the color guard is mildly bullish, and VectorVest advocates buying safe, undervalued stocks that are rising in price at this time. But market's just open, so take it with a grain of salt here. All right, let's go back into our graphs. Take a look. ONCS came tumbling right back down to that first level support at 434 or 343. There we go. But realistically, that 315 level is the level we want to keep an eye on here. Taking that off, zooming in a little bit. Now, one good just general rule of thumb. Putting your line of sand or that level right at the low of the opening minute. So that would put it here at 343. As long as we close and stay above that point there, that tells us the stock is either moving sideways or moving higher. If it breaks down and closes below that on the minute, like it just did there, that tells us that uptrend is starting to dissipate and that the probability that it's going to continue to move lower to fade the gap is extremely high. So we got to be careful with that one here. CTRN, seeing a nice little pop right out of the gate, trying to move higher. Volume's lightening up a little bit though. One moment, gotta get rid. Man, spam bot's out early this morning. There we go. Bye-bye. All right, taking a look. So ONCS trying to hold that ground at 334. BILI, big gap up right out of the gate. Pulling back a little bit. Uh-oh, sorry, Mark. Next time I'll send him your way. All right, HUDI. This one, not a whole lot of trading activity coming in. We need to see it break that 720 level of resistance. BILI trying to potentially turn the corner here. If you do take advantage of this one, you have two lows back to back here right at 1476. If you're trying to take advantage of it early on, trying to turn or get in early to turn the corner, you got a line of sand right there. But now we're seeing it potentially getting ready to break. Looking at the markets, DTI bullish indicator currently reading at 1.02, bears at 0.74. If we zoom in, we can see it's pretty much a steep drop off right out of the gate here this morning and not a strong bias in either direction. So therefore, we need to be extremely cautious here in the market right now. ONCS failed to hold above, potentially starting to drift lower. But this 335 level broke down below, quickly came back. Tried to break down below again, held above it. So 335 is still holding in strong, but we need to see it start pulling away from it. And with the overall market, we need to be careful. Let's go see BILI breaking down below that point there. HUDI, maybe starting to see some new life coming in. All right, ONCS. Are we finally starting to see that reversal kicking in? 345, we've hit it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Can we start to see a move above that point? Whew. Huge drop right out of the gate. Huge pop coming in right afterwards. So a lot of indecision, a lot of fighting going on between the Bulls and the Bears currently. All right. While these are really starting to, or while these are trying to develop, let's go ahead, see if there's any new trading candidates that show up here. So APN is most likely a buyout there, Don. Had a big gap up, didn't move, and still hasn't moved. So not going to be looking at that one. USEA. Seeing that candle there scares me, tells me the stock's reversing right now. NUVL. Is this a halt right out of the gate here this morning on that first opening minute? Went from 31. So that's over a 10% move on that first initial candle. Could be interesting there. So NUVL will add to the list, see if it starts trading again. Maybe that's a halt there. BILI. Trying to come back. Get a trading ticket ready just in case. Holding above support. All right, let's see if I got filled on that one. So the reason why I like this trade setup, even though it's not at the new high right now, you had the pullback. You had this support here at 1476. Then all of a sudden came back, never broke below that low there. Now starting to move higher. So right out of the gate, we have our support at 1476. I got filled at 1480. So right now up 1.25%, about 1 to about 1.5, bouncing around there. Next level, we want to see it take out. Up here at 15, what is that? 1522 or so. So got in at the low of this range. Now looking for it to retest that previous high there. So that's the one we're in right now. Just need to be patient. Give it some time. Decent volume. Looking at volume, we had a big buying volume on that, or big volume minute on that last minute here. And as always, volume is conviction, and volume is relative to what it's been trading around. So it's a lot higher than what it's been trading at previously. So therefore, that tells you to focus on that minute right there. That's a key indication on, which way the stock may be continuing to move here. So seeing that and seeing a strong close towards the highs of that minute tells us the Bulls are still very much in charge with this play right now. Let's go. There we go. Retesting that high, hitting a new high here, up 3% so far. Let's see if we can sustain that move there. I don't like seeing that tall wick on top of that candle there, though. Need to keep an eye on volume. We've got about 20 seconds left on this minute, so we still got plenty of time for it to climb back and get towards that high. But a good general rule of thumb that we talk about quite often is the 50% rule on the minute here. Meaning we want to see the price action close at least in the upper 50% of that range to show that the bulls still have, some decent control on this move. That they're not exiting the play here. So looking at that last minute, let's see. Have to take this off real quick. Let's go ahead, put it here. Low $14.99, high $15.25. So about a 26-cent move. So therefore 13. So 15.12, and we closed at 15.10. So it did close in that lower 50% of that range, which gives us a little bit of uneasiness, especially seeing the stronger volume on that move now. Could be a classic level of resistance where, as always, resistance levels are by far the most useful indicator to get a sense of investor sentiment on a trade, because everybody who didn't get out at that very peak initially sat through that pullback, got worried, and then they see it get back to that point and they say, oh, I didn't sell that first time, I need to sell now before I lose anything. And then you see everybody, selling off. And that's why, support resistance is extremely powerful in helping understand overall crowd sentiment on a trade. All right, got my trade ticket ready just in case. I do like seeing this nice long tail on this current, or on that last minute, but I want to see the stock start to move higher to get confirmation that we're seeing a reversal coming in, start to make a second push towards that level of resistance at 521. Billy just beat earnings. Yeah, so Billy had a good earnings report. And that's one of the reasons, that's the main reason why I was up pre-market and why we're keeping a close eye on it here. But right now, up a little over 1% on the trade. We're up about 2.5 at the high there. Now sitting up a little over 1%, but the 3 indicator is still positive. MACD is still positive for the time being. We are in overbought territory with stochastics, telling us to be a little bit more cautious with it. But as we know, just because we're in overbought or oversold territory, whenever you're looking at, stochastics or any other overbought, oversold indicator, just because we're in those levels doesn't mean that's an instant seller. We instantly need to start running for the hills. It just means we need to pay closer attention and be a little bit more nimble with our entries and exits. All right, so come on. Let's see it start to move higher here. Luckily, we got in here right above those lows, or that resistance level or support level. So we do have a little bit of wiggle room with it, but we don't want to give our gain all the way back. We want to see it start to really climb from this point. And on this pullback, volume was lightening up a little bit, but you did notice some stronger selling pressure here. So just being patient with it, giving it a little bit of time here. NUVL crash back down. We'll take a look at that here in a few. Hey, Energy, hopefully you're doing well. Good morning. Keeping on the 3 and the 8. 3 is getting ready to potentially cross below that 8, which shows short-term momentum to the downside, or short-term momentum reversing from up to down here. Come on. Doji showing indecision after the pullback, maybe slowing down, getting ready to reverse. This next minute is going to be crucial for what that doji is showing here. Robert's asking, so my fill price on that one was $14.80, Robert. Don, as always, once I'm in a trade, folks, so this is something, especially if you're going to be a day trader or day trading just in general, this is a key tip for you guys out there. If you're day trading or you're trading a stock very aggressively like that, once you get into that trade, all you should be focused on is that stock and that trade. Because as we can see from time to time, there can be some quick moves higher and lower. And you don't want to be looking at something else, not paying attention to your trade, and then come back and see that the trade has, reversed or moved a different direction. And then all of a sudden you have to use your emotion and panic sell or, try to rush and make a wrong decision. So once you get into a trade as a day trade, you stay on that trade until you're out of it. Then you can move on, go look at other things afterwards. But when you're in that trade, that is your primary focus, is that trade. So I'm not going to be going and looking at different charts, different things until we exit this trade that we're in right now. All right. So you saw the reversal, got a little bit of a rise, better than expected volume coming in, but you did see a tall upper wick indicating some selling pressure, and now seeing it continue to move lower. So I've got my finger on the trigger, ready to place this trade to close it at any moment here. 3 and the 8 just turned negative. Come on. Come on. You want to move higher. Waiting to see that. Softening some more. So 1484, we've hit it once, twice, and 3 times. Now breaking below that point. Closing out the trade, not sticking around, making a small win. Making about a little over 1/10% on that one. Glad we got out of it though. Instead of sticking around, seeing what's going to happen, take our money, move on. All right. So we've got out of that. Get rid of the trade here. ONCS moving in the wrong direction here today. It was looking hot out of the gate. Came all the way back down to that 315 level. That's where we were looking at pre-market as a strong support. Hit it once, twice, potentially setting us up for a double bottom. Volume though, volume lightening up significantly here so far. Maybe if we can break above that, we consider it. But right now, definitely going to be cautious here with that one. Looking at the market. Market's rallying back here. Off of that high, pulled back. DTI bullish indicator right below that level of 1.2. Makes butters. All right, so going through NUVL crashed down after that. So yeah, that tells me it wasn't trading. It wasn't that it got halted. It was it came tumbling back down because there just wasn't any trading volume. CTRN, I like this one. So this is one we had a CEF in our list already. Nice run up here, pulled back a little bit. But look at the volume on that pullback. Volume went pretty much non-existent, telling us we need to be careful here. The 3 and 8 are still positive. If you're going to be trying to take advantage of this move right now, You put your line in the sand at that low, 27.75. And you're looking for it to break this level of resistance at 28.58. All right, we need some new candidates, some fresh blood here in the list. Let's go see. Pro tip number 2, a good day trader always talks to his or her trades. That's right, Tom. That's pro tip number 2 right there. All right. Zooming in here. Whew. GDS could be interesting. BIGC could be another interesting one. KC. All right, so KC, BIGC, and then GDS. Also, if you are tuning in to the Trading for Charity on our Facebook page, don't forget you can use the command !tips, and you can get the link to donate directly to the Levine Children's Fund that we're raising money for, or you can donate directly to Levine themselves. There's those 2 links that you can use in the description of today's video, so make sure to check those out. This is our final week, and so let's see what kind of final push we can get going into the last week of Trading for Charity here. All right, so CTRN, looking at that. KC. Wait, why are we not seeing? There we go. So KC seeing a huge run right out of the gate already this morning. Volume relatively light, so we do need to be careful with that, but can't deny that big move that it's had already. BIGC looks interesting. I don't like seeing a little bit of that selling pressure coming in here. Also, strong volume tells you to pay attention to that candle. What do we see? A doji towards the high indicates a potential reversal. This next minute could indicate the reversal or getting confirmation of that reversal. So if you're in this one, be careful on that move right there. And then GDS. GDS seeing a continuation. Some new volume over the last couple of minutes. But, man, seeing the lighter volume throughout here and knowing what you see in the past is most likely what you're going to get in the future tells me to be cautious and hold off for right now on this trade. CTRN coming back down to find that support at 27.50 or 27.75. Realistically, I'll move this down a little bit here to capture more data points here, but 27.73 seems to be that support floor. And with volume lightening up drastically here over the last few minutes throughout this period, that tells me one of 2 things. Either we're seeing some consolidation, or we're seeing a lack of interest behind the play, and therefore we'd want to move on. So we need to be cautious for right now with this one. How is the market timing up with all the markets in the red? Let's go see. Well, the Dow's only looking at 30 stocks. S&P is looking at 500 stocks. The NASDAQ looking at 100 stocks. So that is 500. Wait, that's 630 stocks that you're basing these 3 major indices off of. VectorVest tracks 91, almost 9,200 stocks. So that's, I mean, I'd have to do the math, but you're talking about a real small percentage of stocks that make up the major indices. Hey, and Kathy coming in with this $75 donation for Levine Children's Hospital. Appreciate that, Kathy. Thank you very much. VV Nation, show Kathy some love. Thank you, Kathy. I greatly appreciate that. So that's your answer right there, Eric. Looking at the Russell's 2000, which is almost over 3 times as amount that the major 3 indices hold. Russell's up almost 0.5%. So yeah, that's why we say time and time again, nothing is going to help you get a sense of what's going on with the markets than looking at the VectorVest composite compared to one of the major indices. So Robert, that is over on our YouTube side. Right now, we are live on our YouTube channel as well, doing our trading for charity while we're doing this, or while we're doing the Jockey Club today, which is why we're going to be going past that 10:30 time frame that we typically do for trading for charity, or excuse me, for the Jockey Club. Major indices comprise 7% of the VectorVest composite. I've never done that exact math, but I appreciate that, Bruce. I'm going to take your word on that one. So yeah, that's why Eric is the major indices comprise only 7% of the VectorVest composite. So there's your answer. All right, looking at it here, we do have a level on CTRN of resistance at 28.25, hit once, twice, and 3 times currently. We're in this tight little channel here, but we're not going to take that trade until we see a breakout and some renewed life coming back into it. Man, ONCS was looking great earlier, but really just dropped off the map pretty quickly there. KC had the sell-off, light volume, which it's had pretty light volume throughout most of the morning so far, but we need to keep an eye on this one. Could be interesting. You do have some potential support down here at 258. We can see some consolidation right here and here. Coming back down right to that level. Let's see how it reacts to that price point there. BIGC. So you had a little bit of a flip. But once again, this next move, strong volume here. What is the candle telling us? Tall upper wick indicates a lot of selling pressure on that. We need to be careful with that one. GDS potentially starting to roll over. So KC, if we saw, actually, let me get rid of that. Turn that off. Put that level of resistance on real quick. Zooming in. Where did this close? Open 259, close 260, or 259, 260. So about the same. No change there. Really, really light volume. I'm going to be staying away from that for the time being. All right, CTRN. Finally starting to see some renewed life coming in. Get my trading ticket ready just in case. All right, I got my trading ticket ready. It's right at that level of resistance. Volume was starting to finally increase, showing some buying pressure coming in over the last few minutes. Then, right as it got to that level of resistance, you saw volume drop right back off and it start pulling away for the time being. Dave, thank you for that. Consumer confidence in 1 minute. Actually, about 15 seconds now at this point. So I'm going to take that trade off the table. We're going to jump into the market timing graph. We're going to keep an eye on things here. There we go. There's that 10 a.m. time frame. Let's see how the markets react. On the VectorVest composite, you have a level of resistance on an intraday basis right around 55, 59, we'll call it there. Seeing the markets reacting favorably, DTI bullish indicator finally breaking above 1.2. Not a huge reaction so far from these. Woo! There's CTRN. Now, I'm not going to trade the initial emotional minute here. I'm going to wait to see. So you have the breakout. Let's wait for the confirmation. That set back up. Be impatient with it. So 2870. All right. I'll put an order in for 2865. Let's see if we get filled on that one. Or 28, 65. Let's see if we get filled. If not, we'll just cancel that order, take it off the table. But the reason why I like that is because right here, so you have some support at 2857. That was a previous level of resistance, or 2860. I put it in at 2865, just a couple of cents above that high there. So I give myself a 5-cent wiggle room to the downside, and then a lot of upside potential there, or more upside potential than downside risk. So tight stops, so that way if it doesn't go my way right out of the gate, I simply cut it, move on. On CTRN, what is the reason for drawing the resistance level at the top of the bar that you did? Not at the top of the following bar. Which one there, John? Like here? This one? Because that was the previous level of resistance at that high up until that minute. So, as we always know, a level of resistance, once you break through, then starts to act as a level of support. So that's why I was putting it there as my support floor, because it comes from that level of resistance from the previous high. All right, I don't think I'm going to get filled on this one. Yeah, I think I was a little late to put in my order on that one. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off. There we go. And moving on. All right, BIGC. You have a bullish engulfing here. I like the setup. Strong volume on that bullish engulfing as well. Let's see if we can get follow through. We got follow through. Let's see. Come on. Come on. Got the order in. Let's see if we get filled. Volume's a little lighter over the last couple of minutes, or last 2 minutes, but you did get that follow through we were looking for. All right, so BIGC filled. Now, with this one, support, or what we'll use, is $8.99 at the low. Looking for it to break above those highs at, what is that, $9.20 or so. Starting to see new buying pressure coming in. We definitely like seeing that. Slight pullback. Bullish engulfing. Start getting confirmation. Starting to move higher. Come on. Let's see the breakout above 921. Getting close to it. Can we do it, though? That's the question. That is the $1,000,000 question right now. Up about 0.5% as we get closer to that level of resistance. Forming a doji there. I don't like seeing that. I have my order, or have my close order in just in case. Once again, as always, rather have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. So you see the weakness coming in at that high. Taller upper wick on that minute. Absolutely delicious, Rick. All right, come on. Let's see it break 920. Slowing down a little bit, seeing some indecision here. Come on, BIGC, start to move higher. All right, so it is right at our level of support, our line in the sand. Is it coming back down for a double bottom, a retest? Let's go. Let's go. Hey, Marie. Hopefully you're doing well. Glad to have you here this morning. So yeah, the consumer confidence reading came in at 100.2, and it was forecasted at 100 even. So came in slightly better than expectations there. All right, so getting a double bottom here. It's creating and showing that this $8.99, $9 support floor is getting stronger here as more touches occur on that level. But on that note, we need to see it move higher. We need to see it finish higher by the end of this minute to get confirmation that we got the bounce off of that point. So let's be patient with it. Coming in. All right. Closed right at that support level again. Now dropping down below. Closing out of that ticket, or closing out of that trade. Not sticking around. go. All right, out of there. So close out of that one. CTRN came back down, broke below that initial support, found here. Let's go ahead, zoom back out, get this set back up, back down to 315 again. So that tells us whenever you're seeing something like this, stock is comfortable at 315. It's not comfortable higher than that. People aren't really willing to pay more than 315 currently for ONCS. So that is one way of being able to read the overall investor sentiment by looking at that. All right, let's go ahead. Refresh. CRNC could be interesting. API could be interesting. All right, so let's go back up that list. CRNC and API. It's going to be what's a 0-day advantage? All right. KC, we'll get rid of that. All right, API, pulling back a little bit. Let's see. Where do we have potential or support resistance zones? So here, 286. Potentially here, weaker level at 289. We zoom into that. Actually, we'll come back to that one in a second. So ONCS, we're going to get rid of that one. CRNC, just nice steady move higher here today. All right, API coming back down right to that previous support. It's a weaker level of support, but you still have it as support since you had some consolidation here. Once, came back down to retest the support 2-3 times right in that point. So it's a weaker level, but we're going to keep an eye on that support, see if it can hold. Some requests coming in. Let's see. LABU. LABU. A little bit of a run, but pulling back right now. Crocs seen a nice steady run here, but for today, we're focusing on the trading for charity portfolios since this is our last week trading in it. Right now, we're up about 4.5% on the overall portfolio. Want to see if we can break that 5% mark by the end of the week here. So I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive with it here to try to break that 5% by the end of the week. All right, API, a little bit of a push. Came back down. Really low volume, though. CRNC, nice run. Starting to pull back, though, a little bit. Looking at the markets, pretty choppy, but DTI bullish indicator now finally breaking above that level of 1.2 and staying above it for the time being. Let's go see. SAVA. Whew. Nice big run here so far this morning. Zooming in. Potential reversal coming in on that high. Be careful with it. 388 cross. That could be an intraday time to take some profit off the table. BTU. You have some decent support down here at 3105 roughly. But then you also have resistance forming at 3162. So you need to see it break out of this sideways move right now. If API can see some renewed life coming in, that could definitely be an interesting one to jump on board with here. GDS, resistance, right at that high, 1382. So far has not been able to break above that point. CTRN now forming lower highs, lower lows. Volume also drying up. Going to get rid of that one. Starting to roll over. All right, let's go ahead, jump into the Derby. So DADA, ARQQ. ARQQ, just no volume on that one. We looked at data earlier, but let's see what it's doing right now. Volume still staying fairly consistent, slowing down a little bit, but you have support 570. It's rocking and rolling right now. Just scout DGB or DBGI for $450. Not bad, Bobby. Or not bad, Cody. Well done. Now, at this level of resistance, this previous top here, 1, 2, 3 times at 578, it's failed to really get above. You can see volumes lightening up at that point, telling us people are not really interested in paying that price for this stock currently. Also, looking down here, you can see the DPO starting to move lower as prices moving higher. MACD even starting to flatten out, slightly move lower as price was moving higher, setting us up for an intraday bearish reversal here, or an intraday bearish divergence on this one. So we need to be careful on that if you're in that one, or if you're in DADA. Let's go look here. GOCO, not enough trading volume behind that move. Let's bump that up to 500,000. GRWG making a little bit of a move here today. Whoo! GRWG rocking and rolling. I like this one. So this one, you have some resistance, or you have some support at $6 even, seeing some strong volume coming in. All right. So I've got an order in for GRWG. Need to see if that filled. But with the strong volume coming in here, I like what I'm seeing with this. Then you also have support down here at roughly $6 a share. So you're giving yourself about, at this current stage, if you get in right now, a 12-cent move to the downside for that upside potential. All right, so GRWG got filled at 613. Let's see that volume continue here. All right, there we go. GRWG starting to move. Up about 1% right now. Let's see it continue to climb. Something's going on behind it because you didn't have a whole lot of activity, but then all of a sudden a huge burst right here. So you're getting a lot of interest in this trade right now. Move that up. 613. Reason why I'm moving it up. If we scoot over and look at it, you can see sideways action right here. Closed at the high. Open, stayed flat. Never really moved lower. Continuing to climb. There we go. Zooming in a little bit. They're saying a short squeeze on this one. Well, we know how those tend to go, so we got to be careful with that. But yeah, really strong volume on that last minute. Closed at that high, so obviously in the upper 50% of the range, which is where you want to see it close in. Pulling back right now on extremely light volume tells us no real selling pressure coming in behind that move. So just taking a little bit of a breather after that. Now, because we have that down minute, we can now move our line of stand up to that low. Because if it breaks down below that point, then that tells us the trend is starting to change. But I like what we're seeing with this one so far. So after the pullback creates a new opportunity for people who missed out on that first one. Let's see if we start to see the buying coming in and start to push it higher once again. I hope, Jay. Let's see if we can do it. Right now, starting off a little over 0.5% still. So still not in a bad position on this one. Let's see it run though. Just getting my trade ticket open so that way I have it ready to go. That way it makes one less thing I have to worry about. Once I get to a point that I'm happy in the trade, makes it easy. All I got to do is simply hit the enter key and my order executes automatically. So makes it easy for me using the Derby here. Or, excuse me, the Robo Trader. All right, pulled back. No follow through from that minute. Starting to move higher once again. Seeing some new buying pressure coming in. Now, off to take out that new high. Or off to the races to take out that new high here. Come on, you got it. Let's see. There we go. Starting to inch its way higher. So we need to see it break that previous high here. And actually, I'm going to adjust my lines a little bit. I'm going to move this up since we have closed here, opened here and bounced off. So 615, roughly 616 is our new line in the sand, which guarantees we're locking in some gains. Then our resistance comes in at 622, 623 roughly. So we want to see it break that point there. Get my ticket ready. There we go. Now, we're patient. Be patient with the trade. Volume's a little lighter, but still moving in the right direction currently. We see a little bit of buying pressure coming in like we saw earlier. That could easily push us above that 622 level of resistance, off to a new high, and off to the races with this one. I'm liking the setup so far on this one. Quick pullback creates the new buy for everybody who missed out on that initial run, then starts to take off from here. Come on. Let's see that volume pick back up again. Currently just pegged right at that 620 level. In the middle of limbo. Off of that support floor, but not quite at that resistance level. Getting closer. Slowly inching its way higher. Why did that disappear? There we go. So that's what we're waiting for right now. $622. Let's hit $623. Let's see that new high kicking in. Come on, you're right there. You know you want to. You know you want to. There we go, hitting that new high. Let's see some volume coming in now behind that move to give confirmation behind it. 623. All right, now 622 is our new line in the sand. Guaranteeing we're going to be locking that profit in. Would like to see that volume start coming back in here, but at the same time, we've got a decent gain built into that, but we need to see it be able to hold. Got about 15 seconds left on the minute. It's right at that resistance level. So realistically looking at it, you hit resistance. You haven't truly been able to break out above that point quite yet. So you basically had a double top right at that resistance level. Haven't been able to break out from that point. Come on, let's see it push. Making a final push. Let's go. You need to see that renewed life coming in. Theodore, we'll take a look at DBGI in a moment. Once again, we're not going to get out of this trade, or we're not going to look at any other trades until we're out of this trade. I don't want to take my eyes off it, especially with it right at that level of resistance. Really, really light volume on that pullback. Come on. Let's go. See it climb back. Climbing back off that low here. Being patient with it. All right. Out of the trade. 0.75%. Not sticking around to find out on that one. But we did just break that 5% mark on the overall portfolio. So I'm A-okay with that one. The line to stand on was 622 right here when it crossed above. Then it broke down below. Look, it didn't get follow through. Got follow through here, closed out of it. 3.8, we're crossing over. Our entry was 613, so we still had a backup at 615 just in case. All right, let's go see. BTU just moving sideways still. Sava, Sava's breaking down. Croc's just moving sideways right now. What was it? DG or DBGI. There we go. Somebody got a little trigger happy with this one. Let me clear all this. So DBGI gapped or got halted, it looks like. Tried to run up, pulling back. This could be an interesting one from a halt standpoint. But you have support down here at 710 coming from the 3rd minute of the market action here on this one. Came back down. Where did it hit? 713, right above that support floor there. You have consolidation to the upside at 763. It's rated as a buy VectorVest. Oh, GFF. Yeah, we can take a look at that in a minute. Now, breaking down below this last signal or last line of defense at 710. If it can't hold above this by the end of that minute, that's your last signal to tell you to watch out. Let's keep an eye on it here. I do like the trade at 710 though. It'd be an interesting potential buy opportunity if it starts to rebound and bounce off of that. You're seeing some new volume coming in. I appreciate that, Mark. Glad you could be here today. So let's see. It's holding that 710 for the time being. I'm going to keep an eye on this one. It got halted once, which tells us there's a lot of volatility behind it. Could be a fun trade. So that's the thing there, Cody. It had that big run here, but now it's pulling back and it's holding this 710 support floor. You also are starting to see some new volume coming back into it at this point, buying it off of these lows. That's why I'm keeping an eye on it. If it can hold above 710, I'd be A-okay with this because you had that volatility. Everybody's, waiting to see, test the waters with it. But you need to see confirmation that it's starting to turn that corner here before jumping on board. I agree with that. Find or build a search if stocks have been halted. You would have to put volume and then no volume over certain. You'd have to probably use a trending indicator, I would assume. I'd have to go take a look at it though, Marguerite. And also, one other thing I'm noticing. You're getting really far out on the decimal place, which tells us a lot of that could be market makers making the market for this one, which tells us we need to be careful. Yeah, Deborah. So all of our YouTube stuff is typically recorded, so it'll be up on the channel after the stream today. Breaking down below. Therefore, take it off the table, move on. All right, that was DGBI. What was the other one? Oh yeah, GFF. GFF, no real trading volume for an intraday trade. End of day trade, I mean, it looks pretty solid. Steadily moving higher. You do have these nice tails showing some buying pressure coming in off of those lows. Uptrend still remains intact. Yeah. Is bad now? Yeah. All right. GRWG finally broke above that level of resistance, but I don't double dip. So if you're in it, great. I'm not gonna potentially risk double dipping on a trade. Keep those emotions out of your trading. CRNC finally seeing some renewed life here, but not a whole lot of activity based off of that move yet. You do have resistance at 18, 20, or 27. Got to be careful. API came tumbling back down through those support levels. Volume ramping up to the downside. So going to get rid of those two. There we go. What do you think about APIN? It is not really trading. APIN, I think, is a buyout. Because if you look at it, it's flat. No real trading volume on it. No real trading activity or movement on it. So most likely that's a buyout there. CTRN losing its luster here. Let's keep going through. Just looking for some interesting ones and not seeing a whole lot currently. YMM, great run, but now starting to see the selling pressure kicking in and not really seeing a whole lot of buying pressure coming in to scoop it up, reversing the trade here. Reason for not repurchasing the same stock. So emotions. I talk about all the time where I'm sure everybody can relate. You have a trade where you made a really good gain on it, and then the stock pulls back and you think, oh, I timed this perfectly. I know this trade perfectly. I've made a good gain and made a good trade on this once. I can easily do that again. Then you look at it, watch it, and then all of a sudden you get back into it thinking it's going to, after the pullback and you're buying it for cheaper, and then it continues to tank, and all that gain you had on the first trade, you gave it back, if not more, on the second trade. That is your emotions taking advantage of you and not a systematic approach. So the easy way to avoid that kind of a situation, simply delete it, move on. Stay non-emotional with your trades. Yeah, we've looked at CRNC a lot today so far. Rolling over. Yeah, we just finished looking at that one, Eric. DADA. Steady move, but the volume is just one thing that's keeping me out of it. CTRN could be an interesting short trade, honestly, at this point. You're running out of steam to the upside. You're not seeing any renewed buying coming in to help keep it moving higher. I don't know. This could be a short trade here. And then APN, literally, from the day since it opened, 980. So it's moved 8 cents. It's a 10-cent swing on this move. Not enough to really trade off of. I mean, that could be a bid and ask spread right there. In all honesty. Let's go ahead and get rid of these. AR. AR, great run earlier. Starting to see it rolling over. Looking at price action. Price was steadily moving higher. DPO steadily moving lower. MACD steadily moving lower. Creating that bearish divergence and suggesting that momentum is waning behind that upward move. That's just on an intraday basis. Obviously, if you're swing trading it, position trading, looking for longer term trade, your view may change, but from an intraday perspective, that's what we see. All right. Let's go ahead and refresh. See, what else do we have in here? Nothing out of there. VST Mighty Mites. CEIX. $75 a share. Probably going to pass on that one. ARWR possibly moving here. How do you donate? So you have to go over to the VectorVest YouTube channel, Thomas. And in the description of today's stream, so right below the video, there's a link that you can use to donate directly to us, which goes towards buying the toys and clothes and all of that that we donate, that we take to Levine Children's Hospital themselves. Or because that's a way of, or we use PayPal for that, to set up that account. If you don't want to use PayPal, you can also donate directly to Levine using the second link, which goes to their general fund there. So you have two ways to donate. Either one works, but the links can be found on our Facebook page there. All right, let's see. ACMR, is it having a decent day? Let's go look. ACMR, big run up earlier. Saw the weakness on that high, potentially starting to roll over right now. You also had support right here at 887, breaking down below that point, volume drying up a little bit. Boston, you're in here. Give me 1 second, Boston. I'm going to do this real quick so you can respond back. There we go. So now you can hopefully see everybody and respond back if you want to. Appreciate that, Boston. All right, where was it? The other one. ARWR. Let's go take a look. ARWR. Big run up right out of the gate this morning. Now starting to see more volatility here. As we always talk about, whenever you start to see more volatility, that can be an indication that the trend may be reversing. So you need to be careful with that one. Let's go see. Apps could be kind of interesting. Starting to see some renewed life coming into it. You have resistance here at 1695. Looks like you're trying to break through right now. Big volume on that last minute, but no real follow through after that. Generac. Whew. I mean, Generac is a great company. Obviously, this year's been a little rough for them. But, I mean, this thing, we were looking at it when it was down in the 80s or 78 to 80 range. Getting back to that point now, but I do like seeing on a longer term basis. Let me use the freehand line here. Price has been steadily moving lower here. Look over that same time frame. DPO rising. MACD rising. So you're starting to see a bullish divergence here with GNRC. If we had more time for the trading for cherry, actually, you know what? Let me go see what those portfolios are doing. I'm going to add this into one of our Jockey Club portfolios. Let me zoom in. At these price levels, I like GNRC. But here's the issue. We have the bullish divergence. We don't really have confirmation of the bullish divergence taking hold yet. What I need to see before I pull the trigger, because even though I like the play, we need to see it break this downtrend on a shorter term time frame to give us confirmation that the new uptrend is starting to form. EPS, last time I looked, has been phenomenal. Oh, so up until this point here, earnings steadily rising. So something's going on. I don't know exactly what it was. I think there was some news that came out that gave it that they have some one-time cost or something. I'd have to go back and look. No, not the downgrade that came out today. I'm talking about the drop in earnings, the thing that changed that earnings play from that point. They cannot find installers. Okay. So maybe that was the news. I don't think that was the news I was thinking of, but it could be. Man, somebody really likes drawing lines on charts at some points. All right, let's get rid of earnings. There we go. So apps, I like the move, but you're just not seeing a whole lot of interest in afterwards. Here, you had another big volume in it, but what does the candle tell us? Tall upper wick indicates a lot of selling pressure, so therefore, probably best to hold off right now. That's one of the things I'm a little worried about is that, as we get closer to that 11 o'clock time frame, we're starting to notice the overall market slowing down here. And we're starting to see traders taking a little bit of a break. Just going through. All right, now YM. I like the setup now. You had the big sell-off, but you did find some floor right here about 750. Let's get out of here. Right around that 750 a share mark, you have some support coming in. All right, let's see. So line of stand be at 750. Hey, and Bruce coming in with a $50 donation to Levine Children's Hospital. Thank you very much, Bruce. As always, VV Nation, show Bruce some love. Appreciate that. All right, we have our support, 750. Let's see where we got filled at. Come on. There we go. All right, so YMM got filled 758. Right now, 756. We have support at 750. We have resistance at 761. Let's see us start to climb. And even now, at this point, I'm more inclined, instead of using the lows, make a tighter stop, put it at 752. You hit once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. So 752 would be a more realistic, tighter stop to put on it. Have our sell order ready just in case. Back down to that 750. Come on. See it climb. Starting to get into that that middle of the day trading right now. There we go. Back up above 752. Let's go. $757. So the buying volume is definitely outpacing the selling volume. The up minutes are big. Seeing more buying pressure coming in. The selling minutes are little. Weaker selling pressure here. Why doesn't your trade show on the charts? Huh? I don't know what you're looking for, but appreciate the comment. Looking at it here. Come on. We want to see that get follow through. We had the big up minute. We need to see the follow through on the next minute here. Stalled out right here, 756. So got a few more seconds on this minute. Three and the 8 still positive. MACD consolidating. Stochastics got below oversold territory, or got below, but not really going anywhere too much right now. On TradeStation, if you're in a stock, it shows your buy. Well, one, I have 3 different monitors that I use, and 2, VectorVest isn't a broker. So therefore, we don't keep track of your buy, sell, and your buys and sell orders that go through. I use the Robo Trader, which is basically the middleman that sends my orders. So instead of having to have a 4th new monitor and have my broker account inside VectorVest, and all the other stuff I'm keeping in track of, the Robo Trader does all that work for me. It tracks my portfolio, my performance, which I have up on another monitor. And all I have to do is just place the trade, and it sends it right to the broker, executes everything. So that way I'm not having to add a whole nother monitor and a whole nother screen to look at. Simplicity is bliss. I'd rather keep things simple than having to add one more thing to keep an eye on and have to track while I'm trading. So that's why. All right, back down to that 753 support level. We need to see it start taking off again. Yeah, so simple answer. We're not a broker. We don't track and hold your buys and sells, and we don't track your transactions. So therefore, we're not going to be able to display your historical buys and sells on a chart because we're not the broker. We're still placing our trades right now. We have Ally, TradeStation, and also, what's the other one? Interactive brokers that we use. Man, if I had to have that would be 3 new monitors I'd have to keep up to keep every single chart or every single broker platform up along with everything else I have. Talk about a headache. How long is today's session? We're going to go, so we're past the 10:30 time frame, typically anywhere between 11 and 12, depending on the market conditions. We're starting to notice the market slowing down. We're in YMM right now. Once this trade gets over, we'll see how the markets are dealing with it or seeing how the markets are reacting. And then base it off of there. So, if the markets are starting to see some renewed life, by all means, we'll continue to trade. But at the same time, if we're starting to notice the market's slowing down, people going on lunch, so therefore not as much activity, we may wind things down here today. So just depends on what the market gives us today. All right, let's go. YMM pulled back. Almost it's an abstract cup and handle possibly, but you're not really forming the full cup. Coffee spilling out on your hand if you're holding that handle right now. All right, let's go. So you have the base here, move higher, higher base here. Let's see if that can continue. Just gotta be patient, especially coming into the middle of the morning. Volume tends to slow down, makes trades a little bit slower sometimes. So that may be what we're witnessing right now. All right, getting back to 758, which is where we were here. I need to see some new volume coming in as well to give confirmation behind these moves. Come on. Let's see it pick back up. $7.58. Come on. Let's see. $7.59. Tired of seeing 757s. I want to see it get back in the 760s. Three and the 8 are still positive for the time being, but that may not last long. Yeah, volume is definitely lightening up. I was happier at 757. Me too, Chuck. Yeah, volume makes it. Let's do this. Get it set up a little bit better. I mean, volume was great, and then it just stopped. Real quick, I don't like doing this, but I'm going to do it anyways. Markets potentially hitting a double top, starting to pull back. So that tells me maybe, maybe the algorithm's been shut off for lunch break right now. Come on, you're back at that support level. Let's go. All right, you know what? We're going to wrap it up for the day. The volume is just lightening up on the overall market. Tired of sticking around. We're going to get rid of it out of the portfolio. Still up for the day. Overall, ACGL up 3.2, SMCI up 5.7%. All right, so that's going to do it for us today. To recap what's going on in the markets. Markets rallied sharply off of that consumer confidence report here. But you now have a double top, and now you're breaking to a new low. A swing low here. Potentially a lower swing high. DTI bullish indicators slowly drifting lower. The bears coming back a little bit, but not by much. Looking at the homepage right now, VectorVest Composite up about 0.5%. Dow finally back in the green, barely, up 0.03%. S&P 500 up about 0.1%. NASDAQ up just shy of 0.1%. Russell seeming to be the big mover here today out of the major indices, up 0.8%. So therefore, that market action pushes our needle one tick into the green. The color guard is mildly bullish, and VectorVest advocates buying safe, undervalued stocks that are rising in price at this time. As always, thank you all for hanging out with me. This coming Friday will be our very last Trading for Charity session, starting at noon Eastern over on the VectorVest YouTube channel. So I'd love for you guys, anybody in the Jockey Club tuning in right now still, come hang out with us on Friday at noon over on our YouTube channel. Help us make that final push to raise as much money as we can for Levine Children's Hospital this year. So on that, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all have a great rest of your trading day. Be safe out there. Take care. And until next time, toodles.